Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode. I am your host, Ralph Brogdon, and I am excited and motivated to introduce today's guest. Her name is Adele McLay. She has been a business consultant, an advisor, a coach, and mentor to businesses big and small for over 25 years. She's a successful entrepreneur. She has owned several multi-million-dollar businesses. As an investor, she's also a founder of Small Business Huge Success, which informs and inspires small business owners around the world to achieve greater, sustainable, profitable success in their businesses. And she's also going to share with us some of her personal motivation and success secrets as well. So, Adele, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Ralph. It's just lovely to be interviewed by you today.
And as we can tell from your accent, you're definitely not from the United States. You have a lovely New Zealand accent, if my information is correct.
That's right. I am from New Zealand, but I actually live in London, and I've been living in London for the last 10 years. And London is the most beautiful city in the world. In fact, it's my favorite city in the world. But you can take the girl out of New Zealand, but you can't take New Zealand out of the girl. So I'm still a New Zealander at heart.
Well, that's awesome. So I gave a very succinct introduction in terms of what you do, which only scratches the surface. But why don't you go more in depth and tell us more about who you are and what you do for people?
Sure. Thank you very much. Well, I trained as a chartered accountant back in the 80s, and I didn't want to be in public practice as a CPA, as you call it in America. So I got into banking, investment banking, and I was around in banking during the last global financial crisis, that one in 87. You may recall it. I'm not sure how old you are, Ralph.
Oh, yeah.
That one.
Unfortunately, yeah, I remember that one.
So I learned how not to do banking because the bank that I was working for was bankrupted and was bought by the New Zealand government. So it was a very, very interesting experience. I loved banking. I saw my career in banking. However, sadly for me at that time, it was very sexist, and the glass ceiling really stopped me from achieving what I wanted. So rather than continuing to bang my head against that glass ceiling, I got out and got into consulting. And just fast forwarding a little bit through that consulting experience, I then set up my own consulting practice, which at its peak had 20 staff in 2 offices, and we supported New Zealand's mostly largest businesses, I mean, there were some others in there as well, to be more profitable, to be more successful, to be structured more correctly to achieve what it was that they wanted to achieve. So it was a business transformation business that I owned, and we had a recruitment piece in there as well. So we did a lot of assessment of internal staff, recruiting, then going to the market, looking for staff to support the evolution of our clients' businesses. That was a really successful business, and I had all the trappings of success as I defined it back in that time as a single woman. I had money, I had $1 million house, car, beautiful wardrobe, travel, jewelry, the works, and I'd made it. It wasn't easy being a business person. I had all the hard knocks of business, but I was really determined and built it what became a multi-million-dollar business. In 2002, my world changed. I walked into a meeting of my team. We were planning the future of the business that day, and a strategic planning day, and they'd all come together, the 2 teams, and I walked into the office and stood and looked at them one by one and said something like, "Thank you so much for being a part of the team. We've got a big day today. We're planning the future of the company. Actually, I've made another decision. In 1 month's time, I'm going to make you all redundant, and I'm going to close the company." And of course, no one saw that coming. There was silence. And what had happened was 4 months earlier, I had given birth to my first baby, Gemma. So that was about 14 and a half years ago. And whereas originally I'd seen myself as the ultimate career woman, and I had it mapped out. I'd meet the older man, he'd already have a ready-made family, and I'd just carry on with my career. I got some of that right. I did meet an older man. He did have a ready-made family. The bit I didn't factor into it was he wanted more children.
Mm-hmm.
And, okay. And it's amazing what love can do to you. So we decided to increase our family, and Gemma came along. And, Ralph, are you a dad? Do you have children?
I am. I have 2 adult daughters.
So maybe you can remember the day you met your babies for the very first time, and if you're like me, you just fall in love with these beautiful, beautiful little beings that have come into your world. And
Absolutely.
In that moment, my world changed. And some people will be in shock with the story that I've shared with you around closing my company. But what I say to them is, we all go into business for different reasons. And for me, it was financial success and all those other trappings that I had. I had a great reputation in business as well. But what I also came to realize at that time is that the success of my business in those traditional money measures also gave me something else. It gave me freedom. It gave me the opportunity to make different decisions. I didn't have to go back to work after having given birth. I didn't have to put a manager in. I didn't have to sell the company. If I had sold the company, I would personally have had to have gone and worked for the new owner for 2 years. And of course that would have defeated the purpose of what I was trying to achieve. So I made the decision to close the company. And for any of your community who are thinking, goodness me, that's a really tough decision. Well, it's funny how things happen. And some of what I do these days is talk about branding, personal branding, and what makes us stand out in the market. And while I didn't think about my reputation back then as far as branding goes, because that wasn't something you would think about back then, personal branding, I actually did have a great reputation, and I was never going to be a stay-at-home mum full time. It wasn't my journey. But what actually happened is I had a lot of flexibility, and clients would call me back to do work with them on projects, and I selected the projects that worked for me. And as it happened, over the following 4 years, from the time our daughter was born and me closing the office to when we came to the UK, I worked on some amazing projects on my terms. And I made more money in doing that than I would have if I'd sold the business and stayed working for the new owner for 2 years. So it's amazing what happened. So there was a nice little silver lining in that decision. And all of my staff, just to close that piece off, all of my staff supported my decision. They helped me close the company. And within a month, they all got jobs and went on to new beginnings as well.
That's really good. What I like about that, and I think this is motivational to anyone who's listening, the encouragement here, I think, is you can change the rules whenever you want. You don't have to give up one thing in life in order to really enjoy the other thing, but you can recreate, you can change the rules, you can design the business that you want, you can decide for yourself what success is. You don't have to follow the success plan of somebody else's definition.
Absolutely. And I talk about this with my clients and in speaking engagements that I have all the time. It's about clarity. What is it that you want in your business and your life? Or if you're not a business owner, what is it that you want out of your career and your life? And in fact, I had this very conversation on Saturday night here in London. A very, very dear friend of mine, a very successful businesswoman in Australia these days, was in London, and she earns over $1 million Australian dollars a year total package for the work she does. She's at the very, very senior end of finance. But there are other parts of her life that are in tatters because she has such a demanding work life. And I sat her down and I said, you have to at some point step back and say, what is more important? Do I want that next big job that's going to pay me $3 million, or is my health and my lifestyle and having a new partner, finding a new partner, making time so I've got the available time to find a partner for me as important? And it's up to each of us to just seek clarity in what is really important in our lives. And I think about these things in what I call 7 dimensions, because certainly in the 90s, I think it was one-dimensional success, money, power, and status. I think things have come a long way since then. And so I talk about the 7 dimensions of success. And for me, they're about well-being, they're about growth, so constant learning, achievement, which is your traditional markers and some, experiences, what do we want to experience in life, relationships, spirituality, however one defines that, and then legacy. And that's not to say that all of those elements are equal at all times. They're not. We under and overs them. There are some things that are more important now because of where we're at in life, and others will become more important later in life. But it's up to us to actually have the dream, really, and say, well, this is how I want my life to be. Believe that we can achieve it, and then go after it.
That's really good advice. And that really, as you said, applies to either you as a business owner or you as a career-minded individual. Finding that balance is really key. I think you really nailed it when you mentioned balance. You can't do everything all at once, but there is something to be said for maintaining balance in all of these different areas of life. That does bring me to the next question, because you are a keynote speaker, you're a motivational speaker, and you work with businesses all over the world. What is some of the most common problems, or the most common problem you see when you're helping the people that you help on a regular basis?
Great question. And most of my work is with small business owners. So small would be anything from around £70,000 turnover to about 1.5 million. That's the market that I spend most of my time in these days, whereas once upon a time it was big, major corporates. Yeah, major corporates. And I do life coaching as well with these people. But the overriding challenge that people have is what they perceive as lack of time, and the feeling of overwhelm that comes with it. There's always so much to do, not enough time, conflicted between home and work and all the pressures of both. And in my opinion, a lot of that is self-imposed. Yeah, so the reason I think people feel that is that many business owners go into business as what I call technical specialists. So they might be a web designer or a florist or a electrician, and they may have worked with someone else and thought, right, I can do this. And they become what we would say in New Zealand is jack of all trades. They try and do everything. So they try and do the bookkeeping and now social media, and they go networking, and they've got to do the day job as well. And to start with, as a new business owner, yes, you do have to be jack of all trades and do a lot of everything, if not everything of everything. But a lot of small business owners have a small business mindset. They don't think about stepping back and growing their business and what that means. And what that does mean is they need to think about having proper structures in place and delegating and prioritizing, growing a team, even if it's a part-time team or an outsourced team to start with. A lot of small business owners can't think like that. They think that the drain on their cash by employing someone is going to be too much to bear, but when I work with them on this, they see actually, no, this is a good use of cash, so that if they can go and do a job that's, say, worth £100 an hour or $100 an hour, and pay someone $20 an hour to do some back office stuff that they've been doing, that's actually a good trade-off. So I spend a lot of time with my clients getting them to think about what they want out of their life to start with, to think about where their business fits in that and how they want to grow or scale their business or not. And then putting systems and structures in place for their business to create a strategy to achieve those things, and then systemizing and putting the right business model in place for them to grow their businesses.
So you mentioned lack of time, a feeling of overwhelm, and I think that speaks to a feeling that you are never quite in control of what's going on, and that probably creates a great deal of stress for all kinds of people, and especially for people who own a business. I'm curious, what is one thing someone perhaps could do right now to begin to see some immediate improvement in the area of feeling like they're overwhelmed, they don't have time to do everything that's going on? You hit on some business strategies, but I'm wondering if there's something someone can do right now that they would at least begin to see some improvement in that area as a first step.
Absolutely. The first thing would be to stop and acknowledge the overwhelm and recognize that they cannot physically do everything, and then take a deep breath and perhaps write a list. So for your listeners listening to this today, if they're feeling like this, just sit back, write a list of everything they think they need to be doing today and maybe over the next week or so, and then prioritizing it, A, B, and C. A is must be done, has to be top priority. B is should be done, but on a slightly delayed time frame. And C is don't necessarily need to be done or can be delegated or left to another period of time. And so with the A's, it's then a case of, okay, if all these A's have to be done, how am I going to allocate my time today and for the remainder of the week or the month or whatever it is to get those key projects or tasks done, and then slot the B's into the next level of priority. And then those C activities, if they don't need to be done, why are they sitting on the list? Can they be delegated, or can you just delete them and say, actually, they are not that important. I'm just making a mountain out of a molehill and just delete them.
Sounds like a good plan. I can imagine some people making a really long list of A's and saying, well, everything's important. Everything's a priority. And you're saying you still have, if that's the case, you still need to make some tough choices.
Absolutely. I would, in that situation, if I was coaching them, I would make them justify why it's an A, and then get the A's and reprioritize between 1, 2, and 3, because they can't all be A1s. They simply can't. It's generally an impossibility. And if they are, then they're running their business very poorly, and they're going to kill themselves at worst, or they're going to be suffering from stress and overwork, and that's going to lead to other bigger challenges, their health and well-being challenges. There'll be family relationship challenges. There'll be all sorts of challenges if they're constantly running at that pace. So I spend I've had clients like that where they think everything is important, but that's them, the owner, being what I call the chokehold in their own business. And when I sit them down and help them understand that they are creating the choke and the problem in their own business by their behaviors and their attitudes and their mindset, and the light bulb goes on and they get it, slowly but surely we start peeling back the onion layers to work out why they're like this and how we can, and then we start releasing some of that activity or reprioritizing it. It depends on the circumstances as to how I absolutely deal with it.
It sounds like that would be really hard for someone to do on their own, which is, I guess, probably one of the main reasons why they should actually hire someone like you to work with them, to help them get through that sorting and diving down deep and really working through these issues to get to the bottom of what's really important.
Absolutely. I mean, not everybody can afford to have a business coach or a mentor. And if they can't, then to find what I call an accountability partner, perhaps another business owner that's on a similar journey. And it's amazing what we can learn from each other, because if you have a friend who's in the same situation and you're listening to them, the chances are probably quite high that you can pick through their A1 priority list and give them some intellectual challenge about what they're saying. And then if you apply the same lesson to yourself, hopefully that light bulb will go on, or they will do it to you. Or someone you respect, if you can't afford to pay for coaching. But for those people who can, then this is a tiny bit of certainly with me, the type of coaching they can get with me. I do a lot of business growth coaching. So for me, it's also about making sure once we have clarity around what they want to achieve in their businesses and their lives, that we've got the right business model in place. We've got the right business strategies. We've got the right key actions, key goals, if you like, over the year to be achieved, which we break down into 6-month periods, quarterly periods, monthly periods that I monitor and support and guide and inspire them through. And then when we come up with blocks, like the ones we've been talking about, we just unpick those as we go through each month as well.
That's really valuable. And what you're saying really reminds me a lot of Michael Gerber, the E-Myth seminar guy.
Yes.
And his thing is exactly what you're saying. And I remember him saying that the biggest problem with a small business is the boss doesn't have a boss.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why they need someone to support them.
Exactly.
Absolutely right. Well, I'm a great fan of Michael Gerber, and in fact, it was because of his book, The E-Myth, and another book written by Dr. Nick Marsh called The All-Star Company. Dr. Nick Marsh is a New Zealand writer. I read those books in the early 90s just as I was setting up my business, and they were so influential to me that I credit both of those people for my success in my first company in New Zealand. And you may or may not know, but Michael Gerber is launching his next book on the 7th of December. And it's called Beyond E-Myth, and I'm looking forward to reading that. I've been in contact with him and his wife and his team, actually, just in relation to some work I'm doing, and I can't wait to read his next book. It's book number, it's either 26 or 29, I've forgotten exactly, and he's 80 years old, so and still going strong. He's amazing.
Yeah, he is very energetic. So I want to shift gears a little bit, and I always like to turn, I have smart people on the show and they give really good advice, but then I like to turn it around and ask them,
Heck no.
what is the biggest challenge you're facing right now, and how are you dealing with it? And along with that, how do you stay motivated every day? What's your routine like?
Okay, so the first question was what's occupying me, or my biggest challenge. I wouldn't say it was a big challenge, but it's something I'm very focused on. I've created a very large vision for my business, Small Business Huge Success, which is the name of the brand, and as you mentioned earlier, it's about inspiring and informing small business owners around the world to be more sustainably profitable. And I need a fair number of new team members to join us to bring that vision and the work that we want to do to life. So my major preoccupation at the moment is recruitment, and having the right team members on your team, whether they be full-time, part-time, outsourced, whatever, is the most critical business decision that an organization, big or small, can make, because the right team member can take you in the right direction. The wrong team member can be the bad apple in the bunch, and you're in trouble. So I'm spending a lot of time on that at the moment, and I'm very experienced recruiting, so that's not bothering me. I'm finding it very exciting. Interviewing people who are very interested in the vision that we have for the brand. So that's taking a fair amount of time. In answer to your question, what's my routine? Well, mine's fairly ridiculous in terms of the time of day that it starts. And it's very disciplined, and your listeners might think, oh, she's a machine, or she's so boring, but it's just how I manage to get things done. And I take the view, and I coach my clients in this. If you have a routine that you develop, and you have to create new routines, you've got to do things for at least 21 days, if not longer, then you can break your routine knowing that you can always go back to it. So what I'm about to share with you is my in the office routine, if you like, when I'm not out on appointments or networking or going to conferences, etc. And when I am, then I break that routine, but knowing that I can come back to it. So, but every single day, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, I wake up at 4:15 in the morning, which for my family, that's the middle of the night, but for me, that's the beginning of my day.
Awesome.
And my alarm
Carpe
goes
diem,
off.
right?
You've had it? Absolutely. And my husband groans when the alarm goes off, because it goes off twice, once at 4:15 and once at 4:30. And in that 15 minutes, I have my first little meditation. I just lie in bed and think, right, seize the day, literally. What am I going to do? And I'm really at that time focusing on getting up at 4:30 and going to the gym. So I work out. My little treat is that I have a personal trainer 5 days a week who works out with me. And at the moment, where I have two actually. They alternate, one 3 days a week and one 2 days a week. And they're training me to compete in a boxing match, a charity boxing match, which I'm not sure when this interview is going live, but my boxing match is on the 9th of December, so about 10 days from now.
Oh.
So I work out for an hour, very full on, 5 or 6 days a week actually. On a Saturday, it's a slightly different routine. I get home at 6:15 after being at the gym, and from 6:15 to 6:45, I quite literally lie on the floor in my office and meditate again and do a lot of gratitude work. So it's just a little personal me time where I I focus on the future, the goals that I'm focusing on, and the vision I have for the various things that I do in business and in life. And I do my gratitude work where I just think about everything that I'm grateful for. At 6:45, I mean, this is fairly clockwork, till 7:15, I then jump on my computer and do a little bit. I get a lot of emails overnight, and I still have business in New Zealand, and so they're closing their business day as I'm entering my morning. So I just tidy up anything that needs to happen and at that point. And then from 7:15 till about 7:45, my daughter is rising and my husband is nearly ready to be dropped off at the train station. So I zip him down to the train station. I sort my daughter's lunch and get her off to school. She leaves by 7:45, 7:45, upstairs in the shower, start back down, ready to start work at 8 o'clock, properly. And so between, if it's an office day, I'm generally 8 till 6 in the office, and I segment my day. I'm pretty tough around this. I do not take random calls. I do not pick up the telephone. My PA picks up the landline. She knows that I'm not to be interrupted unless I'm expecting calls, and I block my day into 50-minute blocks where I work 50-minute slots, then take a break, take a stretch, then get back into things. I do a lot of writing, speech writing, creation work. So I generally do that in the morning because it takes a lot out of me. And then I do client work in the afternoon and into the evening, and generally stop work. That's a little bit flexible depending on my daughter's schedule. But I stop work to have dinner and do family things for a couple of hours, and then I work in the evening with clients or in podcasts. Like we're doing this one at 8 p.m. my time, 3 p.m. your time. So I do that type of thing in the sort of late or early evening, and generally I'm in bed by 10 o'clock to wind down for half an hour, then asleep by 10:30, ready to go again the next day. So that's the Monday, Friday routine.
Well, that's really interesting because I asked that and of all of my guests, and people answer it differently. Some, they just go with the flow, and wherever the energy takes them, that's where they go. And some of them are very regimented down to the minute, and I'm kind of somewhere in between, but I go more towards the early to bed, early to rise type of a paradigm. So that's really awesome, and I can see. With all the things you've got going on, it's very important to keep that regimen and to keep yourself spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically charged and ready to go. Absolutely. I'm curious, what are you working on right now that's got you really excited? Now, you're the author of 2 books, yes. Big Profits, 12 Strategies to Substantially Grow Your Business Profit. And you're also the author of Branded You, How to Stand Out in Business and Achieve Greater Profitability and Success.
Yes.
So what else are you working on?
The Branded You book has just literally come out. We haven't even promoted it yet. It is available online on all the portals, Amazon and all the others around the world. And if your community would like to read some early chapters, three of the early chapters, they're welcome to go to adelmcleay.com/branded you. And they will get those chapters for free. So we'll be, the book came out a lot later than I was expecting this year. We had a few glitches. So we're just holding off with the promotion and the course that goes with that until next year. Now that book has been, and both books actually have been written under my brand, Small Business, Huge Success. And the thing that excites me the most in business at the moment is, the development of the business to support more businesses around the world to achieve success. So I've set this incredible vision of, and it's just so huge, it's scary, but it's to inspire, and inform 1 billion small business owners around the world to achieve profitable, sustainable success and growth. Now, 1 billion is enormous, and that's not to say we expect 1 billion businesses to be buying stuff from us, because we do a lot of free things. So the thing that I'm working on right at this minute, which goes live at the end of January, is an online event which is free. It's called the Business Growth Online Bootcamp, and the links aren't up at the moment to register for it, but I'm interviewing about 40 business growth experts in a whole range of domains, from strategy, branding, marketing, sales, finance, operations, people, leadership, and then there'll be some special guests as well. And that's to interview them and run little mini webinars, if you like, on what business owners need to be thinking about if they want to sustainably grow their businesses. And so that's going to be a fabulous boot camp next year. And if your community would like to participate in that, the best way to at least hear when the opt-in page goes live is if they went to my website, adellemclay.com, and just registered there. They can opt in to receive my free things. I put out a blog every week and a few other bits and pieces. And when we're ready with the opt-in to register for that free event, then they'll get that information as well. So that's the big thing for that brand. I have a couple of books coming out next year, so I'm working on those, and a few other bits and pieces related to supporting the vision of the Small Business Huge Success brand. But it's all about that at the moment.
Super. So the best way to reach you is on your website, adellemclay.com. Could you spell that so we can make sure we get it?
Sure. ADELEMCLAY.com. And if your community would like to be a part of my community, then there's a registering piece there, and they'll get all the information about the boot camp that's coming up, and it goes live at the end of January, 30th of January. So there's plenty of time.
Super. So as we wrap up, any final thoughts or words of wisdom? You've really shared a lot of good information and good words of wisdom. I'm just wondering, as we close out, if there's any final thoughts that you'd like to share with us.
Well, Ralph, if we could see each other at this point, you would see I'm sitting in my office, and on one of my walls I have all these quotes and words and things that inspire me, and also on my email signature I have a phrase that I really like, and I think I'll leave you with this. It's dream it, believe it, work it, achieve it. And the reason I like that, I sort of made it up. I think it's really just a coming together of lots of ideas that some of others have thought about. But it's easy to dream things. It's a bit harder to believe things. But nothing is going to happen unless we work it. And then if we do work it, there are chances are higher that we will achieve it. And I love Shakespeare. And as Shakespeare said a very long time ago, nothing comes from doing nothing. And so I just remind people that we can have the most amazing dreams. We can believe in the beauty of those dreams, but unless we're prepared to roll our sleeves up and do the work, whether it be achieving a business dream or a life dream, then actually nothing's going to happen. And that's very sad. So I would encourage everybody just to have those dreams, believe you can achieve them, but get on and do the work so that you do actually achieve it.
I've been speaking with Adelle McClay. She's a business consultant, coach, and mentor to small businesses. You can find her online at adellemclay.com. Thank you so much for your time today, Adelle. I really appreciate speaking with you.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, Ralph.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.